Welcome back, boys and girls. Here we are with our Talk Tuesday for this week. This is our third installment. Every day you hear Miss Cherney or myself say, character counts. What character are we talking about? Well, up to this point, we've discussed two of them. The first is grit, here, which grit, remember, means don't quit. Get up and try again. Don't ever stop trying. And the second one we talked about was optimism. The glass isn't half empty, it's all the way full because there's half water and half air. We need that. And no matter how bad things seem, reframe and find the positive. Those are the two we've hit so far, grit and optimism. Today, we're going to go into our third. We're going to pick up our story with our researchers, and they're in the middle of their work in finding out what makes a child succeed. And I talked to some students, and they said, Mr. Anderson, we don't know who you're talking about, so I've got a couple cutouts for you guys today. This is Dr. Angela Duckworth, and she's the one we're going to be focusing on today. And besides Miss Duckworth, we're going to look at this young man. He developed the test that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. Now, Dr. Duckworth initially was studying self-discipline. She followed 164 eighth graders during her time at Penn University. And she followed them for 1 year, and she gave them two tests at the beginning of the year. The first was an IQ test, testing out their intelligence. The second was a standard self-discipline test. She left them alone for the rest of the year, and towards the end of the school year, went back to see how the students did academically. She found that 100% of the students that did well on the self-discipline test had very high grades and were very happy with the way things were going in school. The students who had the high IQ test, however, was mixed. Some of them did well academically, some not so much. So she determined that self-discipline was the most important thing that these students had. Dr. Duckworth then started working with Dr. Mischel from Columbia University and looking back at a test that he had done back in the 60s. Yeah, that's before even I was born. And I'm old. Dr. Mischel, he tested the willpower of 4-year-olds at a nursery school in Stanford, which is where he was a professor. He brought children into a small room. He sat them at a desk and offered them a treat, such as a marshmallow. On the desk was a bell. The experimenter announced that she was going to leave the room and the child could eat the marshmallow when she returned. Then she gave him a choice. If he wanted to eat the marshmallow, he needed only to ring the bell. The experimenter would return and he could have it. But if he waited until the experimenter returned on her own, they would get 2 marshmallows. I kind of think of it as a picture of something like this. Little kid sitting there. Man, I really want that marshmallow, but if I wait, I can have 2 of them. So right now I'm going to cut away. I'm going to send you to a TED Talk that was done on this very subject. I'll see you afterwards.
I'm here because I have a very important message. I think we have found the most important factor for success. And it was found close to here, Stanford. Psychology professor took kids that were 4 years old and put them in a room all by themselves. And he would tell the child, a 4-year-old kid, Johnny, I'm going to leave you here with a marshmallow for 15 minutes. If after I come back, this marshmallow is here, you will get another one. So you will have 2. To tell a 4-year-old kid to wait 15 minutes for something that they like is equivalent to tell us, we'll bring you coffee in 2 hours. Exact equivalent. So, what happened when the professor left the room? As soon as the door closed, 2 out of 3 ate the marshmallow. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes. Some lasted 14 and a half minutes. Couldn't do it. Could not wait. What's interesting is that 1 out of 3 would look at the marshmallow and go like this. would look at it, put it back. They would walk around. They would play with their skirts and pants. That child already at 4 understood the most important principle for success, which is the ability to delay gratification. Self-discipline, the most important factor for success. 15 years later, 14, 15 years later, follow-up study. What did they find? They went to look for these kids who were now 18 and 19, and they found that 100% of the children that had not eaten the marshmallow were successful. They had good grades, they were doing wonderful, they were happy, they had their plans, they had good relationships with the teachers, students, they were doing fine. A great percentage of the kids that ate the marshmallow, they were in trouble. They did not make it to the university, they had bad grades, some of them dropped out, a few were still there with bad grades, a few had good grades. I had a question in my mind. Would Hispanic kids react the same way as the American kids? So I went to Colombia, and I reproduced the experiment, and it was very funny. I used 4, 5, and 6 years old kids. And let me show you what happened.
Hasta para un niño de 4 años, es atractiva la idea de tener el 100% de retorno a la inversión en 15 minutos. Sin embargo, algunos de ellos, tan pronto la puerta se cerró, se comieron el marshmallow inmediatamente. Otros, en cambio, resistieron el impulso.
So, what happened in Colombia? Hispanic kids, 2 out of 3 ate the marshmallow, 1 out of 3 did not. This little girl was interesting. She ate the inside of the marshmallow. In other words, she wanted us to think that she had not eaten it, so she would get 2, but she ate it. So we know she'll be successful, but we have to watch her. Okay? She should not go into banking, for example, or work in a cash register, but she will be successful. And this applies for everything, even in sales. The salesperson that customer says, I want that, and say, okay, here you are. The person ate the marshmallow. If the salesperson said, wait a second, let me ask you a few questions to see if this is a good choice, then you sell a lot more. So this has applications in all walks of life. I end with the Koreans did this. You know what? This is so good. We want a marshmallow book for children. And we did one for children, and now it's all over Korea. They're teaching these kids exactly this principle, and we need to learn that principle here in the States because we have a big debt. We're eating more marshmallows than we're producing. Thank you so much.
I hope you liked that little TED Talk right there. But to summarize, if you have self-control, you can have greater success later in life. The problem is, how do we achieve better self-control? All the researchers agree that self-control is a must for success. But how do we get self-control? I'm going to wrap things up right now, and all I need you to do is talk with your classmates. Figure out at least one way that you can help develop your own self-control. I'm going to ask your teacher to send that one idea to me in email. I'm going to compile all that together and then present it to everybody next week during our Talk Tuesday. Here, I'll give you an example. If I were trying to develop a better set of self-control, I might tell myself, when I'm at dinner with my friends tonight, I am not going to look at my cell phone the entire time. Even if it buzzes, because I got a new text. Who knows? It might be from my wife or it might be from one of my best friends that's not there. I'm going to test my own self-control by not looking at my phone until dinner is over or I excuse myself to go to the restroom. There's one example. Now, I want you to come up with your own as a class, give it to your teacher so they can email it to me, and we'll work with those next week. Thank you all. Have a great Tuesday.